Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, February 2nd. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi, and we begin tonight with another large-scale effort to help in the fight against the coronavirus. The county's 4th vaccination superstation is now open in La Mesa. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman spoke to those who say they've been waiting a long time for their shot in the arm.
We're 72 years old. We've been at home for a year and haven't been able to do anything. We're ready to get out and get it done.
The vaccination superstation in the East County is officially here.
We made it.
I know, you got it.
And San Diegans are ready for it.
I'm locked in. I mean, you can't do anything. I retired back in April. Haven't been able to do anything. If I want to do anything, I got to travel out of town, but I don't want to travel.
This Grossmont Center site in La Mesa is being run by Sharp Healthcare with support from the county. Right now, officials are doing about 2,000 vaccinations per day, and then they hope to scale up to 5,000.
Here at Grossmont Center, the line is moving really quickly. People spending just a few minutes waiting to get their vaccinations.
It's almost a bit of a race through there, but we want to keep people moving nice and safe.
Sharp Grossmont Hospital CEO Scott Evans says this is their second vaccination site located inside of a shopping mall.
It's a wide sort of open space in a store that is no longer open, and so the area is good with good circulation. Malls have good parking.
Some people we talked to did have some trouble booking appointments through the county's website.
It was a little strenuous. I'm normally with Kaiser, and they're behind.
Right now, vaccinations at county-sponsored sites are limited for those 65 and over plus healthcare workers. People then have to come back in 3 weeks for the second dose.
I'm here to bring my parents to the vaccinations.
Sergio Rodriguez from Jamul was able to get both of his parents' appointments today.
They are 80 years old, and God let them live 3, 5, 10 more years. I want to be healthy.
The entire process inside takes just a few minutes. After vaccinations are given, people are observed for a short time inside the mall's food court.
Ya me vacuné.
I got vaccinated.
Gracias a Dios.
Thank God.
Sharp officials estimate around half of the vaccinators here are volunteers, like Kathy Gross, who is a retired family nurse practitioner.
When this opportunity came up, I was on it, and I just believe that we just need to get everybody vaccinated as quick as possible.
15 minutes, anywhere up there.
If you're interested in volunteering, officials are not just looking for vaccinators, but also others to help check people in and keep the process moving.
It just feels so good to be able to come back and help my community.
Appointments must be booked ahead of time through the county's website. This location will be open Monday through Friday. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
A new vaccine superstation is set to open at UC San Diego next Monday. It will operate out of Raymac Arena with the capacity to immunize 5,000 people on a day, depending on vaccine supply. And we have more information at kpbs.org. You can also find locations of vaccination sites and links to make an appointment online if you are eligible. Finally, under 1,000, San Diego County just reported its lowest daily coronavirus case numbers in weeks. 926 infections and 10 deaths from the virus were recorded just today. Across the state, hospitalizations, ICU admissions, and cases are all down. But State Health Secretary Dr. Mark Ghaly says county case rates are still much higher than they were before the late fall surge, and now is not the time to let our guard down.
The chance for another surge in California is real. It's still circulating. COVID is in our communities. Our case rates are down, but they're not low. How likely is it that we'll see another surge? I think, again, it comes back to the behaviors and our own sense of personal choices and personal responsibility on this.
And with that in mind, Dr. Ghaly reminded everyone to avoid gathering for the Super Bowl this weekend or for Lunar New Year celebrations. The former mayor of San Diego wants to be the next governor of California. After months of speculation, Kevin Faulconer made it official with a video announcement last night and a news conference today. KPBS reporter John Carroll says money is already flowing into Faulconer's campaign from Republicans who see a shot at unseating Governor Gavin Newsom.
We can clean up California, and it starts at the top.
The Faulconer campaign released this slick 2.5-minute campaign video last night.
I'm Kevin Faulconer. I'm running for governor for the great state of California.
Faulconer held a rally to personally announce his run today. By the sign behind him, you might think it was at a school named Cabrillo in San Diego. But instead, he made it in suburban Los Angeles, in San Pedro. We reached out to the Faulconer campaign to ask why, but no one responded.
It gives the Republicans really their best shot in the increasingly blue state of California.
UC San Diego political science professor Thad Kauser says the effort, begun last June to recall Gavin Newsom, may very well get the more than 1.5 million valid signatures it must have by the March 17th deadline.
It looks like it has the professionalization and the institutional support to potentially get there, setting us up for a fall recall.
Faulconer accuses Newsom of mishandling the response to the COVID pandemic, and missteps like dining at the exclusive French Laundry restaurant last November certainly haven't helped. But Faulconer is sure to have Republican company in his effort to oust Newsom, whether in a recall this fall or in next year's election. Rancho Santa Fe resident John Cox, who ran against Newsom in 2018, says he'll run against him again, and though Faulconer's campaign has already raised more than $1 million in the last 3 weeks, Kauser says it'll take more, a lot more than that, to seriously compete.
Kevin Faulconer is going to need $30, $50, $60 million to get a message out there that is different than just the Republican brand.
Some aspects of Faulconer's record from San Diego will surely prove a challenge, like the purchase of the asbestos-laden high-rise in downtown San Diego, and throwing his support behind a years-long effort to expand the convention center. Here's what former Convention Center Corporation Chairman Gil Cabrera told Metro reporter Andrew Bowen about that in December of last year.
I think there was a lot of delays that probably weren't necessary. I mean, we went through, I think, 2 or 3 State of the City addresses where we talked about we were going to do something, and then nothing happened that year.
Now we wait for March 17th to see if the recall moves forward, and if so, if it ends up like the last one where Gray Davis was ousted and another moderate Republican, Arnold Schwarzenegger, was elected. John Carroll, KPBS News.
The dates are set for a special election to replace Shirley Weber in the state assembly. Governor Gavin Newsom announced the election will be held June 8th, with the primary held on April 6th. Shirley Weber is now the Secretary of State. She was chosen to replace Alex Padilla, who was appointed to fill Vice President Kamala Harris's Senate seat. The 79th District covers parts of San Diego, Chula Vista, Bonita, La Mesa, Lemon Grove, and National City. 3 executive orders give an overview of the Biden administration's immigration priorities and their contrast from former President Trump's. Meanwhile, the White House continues to eye action on President Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID relief proposal. Karen Caifa has the latest from Washington.
The next target for President Joe Biden's executive orders, the immigration policies of his predecessor, Donald Trump.
This is about how America is safer, stronger, more prosperous when we have a fair, orderly, and humane legal immigration system.
Biden's orders Tuesday will call for a cross-agency task force led by the Department of Homeland Security aimed at reuniting families separated at the U.S.-Mexico border under Trump administration policy, and call for support to Central American countries for initiatives aimed at stemming the flow of migrants to the U.S.-Mexico border and to restore the asylum system, as well as a review of the legal immigration system. Also Tuesday, Biden and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen joining Senate Democrats for a virtual lunch to talk about Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID economic rescue plan. The president met with a group of Republican senators Monday, hearing their counteroffer for a $618 billion package.
I think it was an excellent meeting.
Senate Democrats Tuesday charting procedural steps forward for Biden's plan as is.
We are not going to dilute, dither, or delay.
With the White House not eager to negotiate down.
Democrats across the Congress and in the White House, we've long recognized that the danger is not doing too much, it's doing too little.
In Washington, Karen Katha, KPBS News.
And we want to dive deeper into one of those executive orders regarding immigration. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler tells us how it aims to reunify families separated at the border by the Trump administration.
On Tuesday, President Biden issued an executive order charging the Department of Homeland Security to launch a task force with the aim of reunifying separated families.
I'm not making new law. I'm eliminating bad policy.
The families, which originally totaled over 5,000, were first separated in 2018 under the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy, which instructed federal prosecutors, including those in San Diego, to charge the parents with federal crimes, and in doing so, separating them from their children.
We're going to work to undo the moral and national shame of the previous administration that literally, not figuratively, ripped children from the arms of their families, their mothers and fathers at the border, and with no plan, none whatsoever, to reunify the children who are still in custody and their parents.
San Diego federal judge Dana Sabra issued a stop to the program, and the vast majority of families were quickly reunited. Advocacy groups began to work to reunify the remaining families.
In between August and December of 2018, Al Otro Lado sent staff and contract attorneys and volunteers to Central America on 5 separate trips, to Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala, to meet with parents in person and prepare petitions for their return.
But that work, done without any financial assistance from the government, has been difficult for the advocacy groups. The government did not provide a full list of parents who were separated, and only 36 parents who were deported made it back to the U.S., after strict limitations were placed on who could reunify and who qualified for asylum. Now, several years have passed since the separations, making the job even harder.
Creating a task force doesn't mean you're reunifying families. It means you're going to have a lot of meetings about what you're going to do to reunify families.
In discussing the executive order, Biden administration officials have said that not all families separated will be able to reunify in the U.S., and whether they can come to the U.S. will be done on a case-by-case basis.
The government inflicted such an egregious harm on these families that they really owe them some kind of status in the United States as independent of asylum.
The 2 other executive orders issued on Tuesday address the root causes of migration from Central America and the treatment of asylum seekers when they arrive at the southwest border. Neither of those take any immediate action. Earlier in the day, a new DHS Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, was confirmed by the Senate. It will be up to him to act on the orders, including dealing with the thousands of asylum seekers who have been stuck in Tijuana for over a year. Max Rivlin-Nadler, KPBS News.
Both sides filed their legal briefs today ahead of next week's Senate impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump. House Democrats argue the Senate should convict Trump and bar him from office because he endangered lives when he aimed a mob of supporters at the U.S. Capitol last month. Trump's lawyers deny he incited the riot and call the trial unconstitutional, saying he cannot be tried now that he's left the White House. And no charges recommended. That is the opinion of investigators involved in the Capitol police officer who shot and killed San Diegan Ashley Babbitt. Babbitt was among the violent pro-Trump mob that stormed the Capitol back on January 6th. Members of Congress were certifying the election at the time. The shooting is still under investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office and civil rights prosecutors. The Justice Department could make a final decision about possible charges in the coming days. The picture of San Diego's city budget under the pandemic keeps getting worse. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says budget cuts could be coming sooner than expected.
The months-long surge in coronavirus infections and the resulting stay-at-home order led to a massive shortfall in San Diego's hotel tax revenues. A report released this week says the city will have to find more than $85 million in savings over the next 5 months, or dip into its reserves. Councilmember Sean Elo Rivera said Tuesday any cuts should take into account which neighborhoods are suffering the most.
Because the reality is that the impact of a reduction of a library or park and rec hours is simply not the same for a neighborhood where the average family can afford tutors or enrichment programs as it is for a family that is barely getting by.
In preparation for the next budget year, which starts July 1st, Mayor Todd Gloria has asked department heads to come up with cuts of between 2 and 8%. But the biggest variable in the budget puzzle is Washington. If President Joe Biden wins approval for his coronavirus relief package, cuts to things like libraries, parks, and road repair would be far less severe. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Some new developments tonight in the shooting death of a local teacher. San Diego police have arrested 30-year-old Jesse Milton Alvarez on suspicion of shooting 37-year-old Mario Fierro. The Cathedral Catholic High School teacher was found dead on Monday morning on Kansas Street in North Park. Authorities have not disclosed a motive or the relationship, if any, between Alvarez and Fierro. Last night, a vigil was held to remember the popular teacher and football coach.
He was always there for you if you needed you to watch some extra film or if you needed some help with gear, stats, game plan. He offered rides for guys who, struggle to get home after practice and whatnot, went out of his way. So just an extremely kind and thoughtful soul.
School remains closed until Thursday and counselors are being made available. The Larry Himmel Neighborhood Foundation is accepting donations for Fierro's family. San Diego City Councilwoman Monica Montgomery Stepp has been appointed to a 9-member task force exploring the idea of reparations for Black people in California. California's new Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weber, created the bill while she was in the Assembly. Cal Matters' Orlando Mayorquin has more.
More than 4 million Africans and their descendants were enslaved throughout the United States. While California joined the Union in 1850 as a state free of slavery, it enforced the Federal Fugitive Slave Act, which mandated that government officials and ordinary white citizens help slaveholders recapture people who escaped. Hi, my name is Orlando Mayorquin, and I'm going to explain California's new reparations law in 1 minute. The new law, penned by San Diego Democratic Assembly member Shirley Weber, establishes a 9-person committee to study California's complicity in slavery, develop proposals on what reparations might look like for descendants of enslaved people, and determine who might get paid. Reparations can take many forms. It could be direct cash payments or subsidized education and healthcare, or assistance for down payments on housing. The new law won the support of a large coalition of social justice groups, but in the state legislature, support fell along party lines. Most Republican lawmakers voted against the bill, arguing reparations is a federal issue and that state money should not be used to study it. Some reparations scholars also have reservations about the new law, arguing that the magnitude of what needs to be repaid can be achieved only at the federal level. But Governor Gavin Newsom said, quote, "This is not just about California. This is about making an impact and a dent across the rest of the country." To learn more about other new laws taking effect in 2021, visit calmatters.org or click on our news playlist. For Cal Matters, I'm Orlando Mayorquin.
The San Diego Public Library is celebrating Black History Month. The schedule of events includes story times for children, some book discussions, author talks, and take-home craft kits. You can also get a special edition card designed by a 15-year-old Scripps Ranch High School student. It features the likeness of Congressman John Lewis, basketball legend Kobe Bryant, Vice President Kamala Harris, and tennis great Serena Williams. SeaWorld San Diego will be open this weekend for the first time since it closed 2 months ago. The park will only be open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for now, as well as President's Day. Visitors can see the animal shows and outdoor exhibits, but amusement rides will be off limits. Advanced reservations will also have to be made. SeaWorld says additional days may be open in the future and will be posted on their website.
Well, it looks like our next storm system will be pretty much a dud in terms of precipitation. There could be a couple of sprinkles around the mountain areas on Wednesday, but just a lot of clouds for us and some gusty winds. Winds will be turning offshore on Thursday with sunshine and gusty winds. Temperatures will creep up through the end of the week into the weekend with dry conditions. As we take a look at our weather for tonight, just some clouds around Oceanside, San Diego to Borrego Springs and Mount Laguna. Ramona tonight's in the upper 30s, Campo in the lower 40s. Now during the day Wednesday, the next storm system scoots its way through the Great Basin. With that, some showers and rain and snow, some heavier bursts of snow Wasatch into mountains of Colorado. But here, we'll just see plenty of clouds, the onshore flow, and the wind's a little gusty, and maybe a stray shower for parts of the mountains. Forecast highs here, 64 in Oceanside and San Diego. Ramon is at 65, 69 in El Cajon. Mount Laguna is at 49, Borrego Springs, 77. Thursday, the flow's offshore. Looks like some pleasant weather for us. So let's go to the forecast. Temperatures will be hovering in the mid-60s the next couple of days. You can see plenty of clouds, fog in the morning hours of that onshore flow, then sunshine for the end of the week and into the weekend. Oh boy, doesn't that look nice. Inland sections, well, Wednesday, more clouds around. Thursday, turning sunny, a bit breezy, and abundant sunshine, and boy, the weekend looks terrific. As we go to the mountains, breezy, clouds, sunshine though for the end of the week. Looks nice for the weekend, plenty of sunshine, and to the deserts. Well, a little cooler here Thursday, but a beautiful weekend ahead with sunshine. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
The CDC is calling for more reporting on race and ethnicity in the coronavirus vaccine rollout. It found women and white people are most likely to get the shots so far. For about half of those vaccinated, race and ethnicity were unknown. But for those identified, the CDC found about 60% were white, 11% were Latino, 6% Asian, and 5% Black. In San Diego County, 49% were white, 13% Latino, 13% Asian, and 2% Black. Both the CDC and county report women represent over 60% of those who have received at least one dose. Older San Diegans eligible for the coronavirus vaccine are frustrated by the online scheduling process and the limited availability of appointments. KPBS health reporter Taryn Mento dug into the issues with Public Health Officer Dr. William Wooten and Health and Human Services Agency Director Nick Machione.
The county has tapped 211 to help those 75 and older schedule appointments over the phone instead of online. But Health and Human Services Agency Director Nick Machione says they know more support is needed for the age group.
So one of the things we have done is significantly expanded and expanding as we speak their capability. They need just more staff. And so they've been adding and onboarding a tremendous amount of more staff.
He says 211 also updated its automated menu to more quickly connect people in need, and they're coordinating with community organizations to offer even more assistance.
Knowing that we're hearing endless stories about how people have helped their family member or, kind of been the advocate for something, and we think that's great, right? But not everyone has a family member. Not everyone has that person to help them. So we have actually reached out to the community, helping to be those advocates as well.
But County Public Health Officer Dr. Wilma Wooten says they're hamstrung by the limited vaccine supply they're receiving from the state. The county is administering about 16,000 doses a day, but more than 1 million people, healthcare workers, those in long-term care facilities, and seniors are currently eligible.
That is 635,000 individuals, the healthcare personnel. And then for just 65 and over, it's almost 1.2 million individuals. Now, of course, there's some overlap there, because you have healthcare personnel that are in the 65 and over group. But that's the number that we have to deal with, and we have nowhere near that amount of vaccine.
Wooten says it is unclear when the weekly doses it receives from the state will increase, so they can add more appointments and expand eligibility. But she says the county is getting through 100% of its supply each time. They're hopeful that the high usage rate and established infrastructure will prompt the state's newly announced vaccine administrator, Blue Shield of California, to reward that with a higher volume of doses. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, the president signs executive orders reversing Trump administration policies on family separation, border security, and legal migration. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And here's another look at today's top stories. San Diego County's 4th vaccination superstation opened today in the East County, the walk-up clinic at Grossmont Center in La Mesa. It will be open for appointments from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays. UC San Diego, which runs the superstation near Petco Park, is also planning to open a clinic on campus next Monday. And former San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer is running for governor of California. Faulconer is the first major Republican to formally enter the contest as signatures are being gathered for a recall effort against Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom. He faces an uphill fight in a state where Democrats outnumber Republicans by nearly 2-1. And the Biden administration is taking steps to undo changes to immigration policy over the last 4 years, including family separations at the border. The newly confirmed Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas will lead a task force focused on reuniting parents and children who are still apart. You might think much of the last year has felt like Groundhog Day, but today actually is Groundhog Day, and Punxsutawney Phil has predicted a longer winter.
We have all passed through the darkness of night, but now see hope in morning's bright light. But now, when I turn to see, there's a perfect shadow cast of me. 6 more weeks of winter there will be.
Well, you heard it there. The groundhog emerged at Gobbler's Knob this morning and saw his shadow, meaning 6 more weeks of winter. Statistically, Phil has only been right about 50% of the time in the last 10 years. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.